Hi, this is Nova, and I'm broke. So, to fix that, I had two options. Find something I actually enjoy doing and somehow turn that into a job. You have probably figured out which one I went with. After playing Satisfactory one day, which is a well-known automation game, I got so hooked that I thought, hey, I want to make something like this. So I watched a few tutorials, started building a game, and decided to share the whole experience on YouTube. Partly to document the journey, and partly because I heard YouTubers make tons of money. Oh boy, was I wrong. As someone who just graduated, I figured, why not give it a shot? However, my first few videos weren't great. Bad audio quality, poor editing, and a lack of confidence.
Wait a minute! Who are you?
So naturally, who would care if some random guy decided to make a game or not, right? To my surprise, the first devlog blew up way more than I expected, and that gave me a huge boost of motivation and confidence that I could actually pull this off and make my dream game. If you've been following me on Discord or Patreon, then you probably already know that I stopped working on my factory automation game. Maybe a bit too much confidence. Anyway, I eventually realized that dream games are usually either way too ambitious for one person to handle, or just a copy of a famous game with no real twist. Or it could be both. So yeah, that game wasn't going to happen. At least not in the next 20 years. Instead, I decided to move on and actually make use of everything I learned from that project and make a much smaller game. Something fun to make and play, easier to manage, and most importantly, something I can finally release on Steam. Ever since I started game dev, my main goal has been to release a game on Steam. But I know my factory game was never going to get me there. At least not anytime soon. So I asked myself, what kind of game could actually help me reach that goal and help me not go completely broke in the process? Well, I came up with a few must-have criteria. First, the game needs to be something I can actually finish.
Well, that's obvious.
Ideally within 6 months, because every dev I listen to says, however long you think your game will take, double it. So if I think it will take 6 months, it's probably going to be a year, and that's still doable. Secondly, it has to be a game that's fun to play, even with minimal features. Something with a super tight scope. Just enough to build a prototype quickly. That way, I can test the core gameplay loop early on, see if it's actually fun, and avoid the classic trap of spending months building mechanics, only to realize they don't work together. And finally, most importantly, it needs to be a game that's fun to make. Because if I'm going to spend months on a project, especially with no money and no safety net, it better be something I genuinely enjoy working on. Otherwise, why would I choose making something I hate with no guarantees while I could have worked at any programming job? With those points in mind, I started throwing around a bunch of ideas and prototyping like crazy. I will spare you the details, but eventually one idea stood out. Around that time, there was one particular game I kept hearing about but never actually played until recently. If you just got flashbacks of spending hours chasing the perfect hand, yeah, you already know the game I'm talking about. Balatro. Anyway, a simple, elegant game about numbers going up. And yet, no two runs are ever the same. It's addictive, replayable, and purely genius. And that's when it clicked. What if I made a Balatro style game? The potential for fun was there, it's easy to prototype, and it would fit perfectly within my 6 months development plan. But there was one problem. Balatro-inspired games are everywhere now. If I wanted to stand out, I needed a unique twist. That's when I decided to mix it with another genre I love, tower defense. But that alone wasn't enough. It still needed a theme. So here's what I came up with. Monsters have emerged, causing chaos in nature. Volcanic eruptions, tsunamis, and worst of all, a gravity imbalance that sends your town floating into the sky. Your job is to defend your floating town from waves of enemies flying up from the ground. And here's the twist. There is no enemy path. Enemies can land anywhere along the edges of your floating island. With the tower defense layer set, it was time to inject that Balatro magic. So I decided to add Joker-style cards, which act like modifiers that enhances your defenses, gathering resources, or give special abilities. The result is a unique blend of Balatro's roguelike card system, tower defense mechanics, and real-time strategy elements. Think of it like a reverse Clash of Clans raid, except you're the one defending, not attacking. This is it, the perfect formula. Fun to make, fun to play, unique enough to stand out, and fast to prototype. I kicked things off by experimenting with different visual styles just to get a feel for the game's look. Eventually, I settled on a top-down 3D perspective with low poly art style. That way I can make clean, easy to produce assets while focusing more on gameplay instead of getting stuck modeling for days. From there, the mission was simple. Build a prototype as fast as possible. I wanted something playable, not polished, just enough to test if the core idea had potential. So, I set 4 key features that must be included in my minimum viable build. tile generation, a basic building system with at least one defense tower like an archer tower, enemy spawning and movement, and finally card selection and activation. With that checklist in mind, I started looking in. First up was tile generation. Thankfully, I already had experience here from my factory game. I reused the same nice function logic and modified it to work for tile generation, using a seed to randomly determine tile types and placements. Easy one. Next was the building system, which I just copy-pasted from my old project really. I tweaked a few variables, cleaned up some scripts, and boom, a fully working building placement in no time. So far, so good. It seems like those months working on my dream game wasn't wasted after all. But now came the real challenge: cards and enemies. Two systems I had never touched before. First, let's talk about cards. But before that, let's talk about shaders. Why are shaders relevant to cards, you say? Well, recently I've been really into shaders, and I decided to use them for the card visuals. I made a bunch of effects: hexagons, dots, shiny effect, even a black hole shader that looks amazing. Which gave me an idea. What if I use different visual effects for different card types? For example, the hex shader could be assigned to resource cards, and others follow the same logic. But for now, I will try and put all available effects in cards, but that's something to consider for the future. Anyway, enough shader talk and back to card design. I want the game to feature two types of cards, active and passive. But to keep things balanced, you will only be able to hold a limited number. That means you will have to strategize, build synergy between your picks, and carefully choose what cards to keep. And speaking of choosing cards, after each wave you'll be offered 2 new cards to add to your hand. You can use them in future waves to help with resource generation, defense upgrades, or triggering special abilities. After a bit of work on the card system, I whipped up a few concept cards for the prototype. Just enough to test different gameplay angles. For now, I've only implemented active cards since they are easier to code, but that's enough to get the prototype going. Future me can handle the rest.
Oh, hell no! That's, oh, hell no!
Now let's talk enemies. I wanted to make different elemental enemy types, each immune to specific towers or projectiles. But as you can see, I already broke the rule and overwhelmed myself with a hard task, ignoring the small scope rule. No, you are better than this. Don't fall for scope creep again. No. Anyway, to stay on track, I decided to start simple and made just 2 enemy types, a basic enemy and a boss. Bosses spawn at round 5 and 10, marking the midpoint and the end of the prototype demo. As for the enemy design, I couldn't think of anything more horrifying, unsettling, evil design than something I like to call Brain.
Are you serious right now, bro?
No, seriously, I don't have a proper design yet. Enemies will probably be the hardest part for me to make. And to make things even harder for myself, since there are no fixed paths in this tower defense game, I will have to implement some kind of AI navigation, which I currently know nothing about. So here's my temporary solution. At the start of the game, you spawn your town center. Enemies will target it directly. If there is a building in their way, they will attack it first, then continue moving towards the center. It's a simple logic that should work for now. After finishing the core features, I spend a surprising amount of time on polish and quality of life stuff. Things like keyboard camera controls, a description window for buildings and cards, a free play mode after winning, a bunch of sound effects, and even a mini cutscene at the start. No joke, this stage took as much if not more time as the main systems. But with that, the prototype is finally complete. You win if you survive wave 10, and you lose if your town center gets destroyed. Now comes the most important part. The part that decides whether this game moves forward or not. Playtesting. Because, let's be honest, what's the point of making a game if no one finds it fun or sees potential in it? As a developer, you always view your game differently than players. So, getting honest feedback is incredibly valuable. Right now, the prototype is available on my Patreon. It's a way to support the game and also helps me cover things like the Steam fee or pay people to help in areas I'm not good at, like art. I do my best to build as much as I can in the game, but I'm way more into coding, hence the name NovoCode. And having to buy assets or hire someone for the parts I'm not good at will result in a better game, which is my main goal. So if you're curious, give it a try and let me know what you think. And by the time this video goes live, I will be implementing the passive card types, adding new cards, and fixing bugs found during playtesting. And that brings me to the final piece of the puzzle. The name. I don't have a great one yet. Right now I'm calling it Sky Defense, but I'm open to better ideas. If you've got a cool name in mind, drop it in the comments, and if you see one you like, leave it a like so it rises to the top. Alright, that's it from me. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.